an individual on a job interview, and this is what happened. Let me read it to you. Right now, we have openings for a beach lifeguard, greenhouse gardener, and sauna manager. But it's a snow person. Any thoughts, any comments? What do you think? What if you get this person in your caseload and they want to work? And you set them on an interview. They got the interview, which means the resume worked, the cover letter was gorgeous, the LinkedIn profile was fantastic. Social media presence, no digital dirt, it was amazing. What do you think? Okay, that's okay. No comments? Yes?
We are not going to hire him.
You're not going to hire him. Why not?
I think the way he's dressed up, his attire and all reflects like the place where he has to work.
Okay. Not
It
a
sort
good
of
match.
contradicts.
Not a good match.
Okay, yeah.
Is that what you mean? So you
Yeah,
done this?
sort of.
Okay, interesting. I can live with that. Anybody else? Yes.
Put him in mortal danger.
Put him in mortal danger. Ooh. Well, I'm going to move on. Any other comments before I move on? Yes.
I would hire him.
You would?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Why?
Determined to basically apply himself to any situation.
Motivation, determination. Good. Okay. Thank you. You're all right. But guess what? This case scenario happens every single day when you're working in the supported employment sector. Because it's even when I was applying for a job and looking for work, it's not always going to be perfect. We have a tendency, and especially are there any HR people here? Okay, great. HR is very, very rigid. They are mandated by their mandates. This is the way we do it. We're not going to look to the left. We're not going to look to the right. So I'm going to suggest that there's a good possibility, like your gentleman said, that the soft skills of this candidate are fantastic. And maybe he can learn the technical skills. Because as a great educator once said to me, you get hired for your technical skills and you get fired for your soft skills. Can you work in a team? Are you motivated? So I'm going to ask you to look on this, because this happens every single day. We always have individuals in our caseload that we're not going to be able to plunk them into the job. They're not going to meet all of the requirements and the job description. By the way, what makes you think the job description is so accurate? How many times have you seen job descriptions where they're asking for 5 million things in accounting and bookkeeping and QuickBooks and MS Office and blah, blah, blah. At $14 an hour, they put like 3 jobs in one. If you haven't seen that, you can go look. I look at jobs every single day. So maybe there's something off a bit. Maybe there's barriers in the job postings. Maybe there's barriers in the way people are recruiting. Because this candidate, possibly, maybe not. Maybe it's not going to be a good fit. This candidate could be the best employee, stay forever. You never know. Also, what makes you so sure that she's such a good interviewer? Maybe she has questions that she's been mandated to use in the interview, and they're completely irrelevant to the job. Look at the questions. Maybe she should have figured out a different way to ask the question. Tell me about a time when you had to work in a team. Maybe she should have tested different kinds of skills, because this candidate might be able to learn all the technical skills. Okay, so do you get what I'm saying? So this is the world of supported employment. I don't even need to continue on with my presentation. This is it, man, because this is what it says. I'm going to show this to you afterwards, again. Okay, so what does employment mean? There's tons of research on it. You know what it's like? Anybody here know what it's like to be unemployed? Anybody know what it's like not to have a paycheck coming in? Or you're in a job where you're fired or you're laid off or you quit or whatever? A round peg in a square hole? Anybody know? You know. And most people know. If you don't, you're very, very lucky. What does employment mean to you? Anybody want to share? Throw it out there. What does it mean to have a job?
Income.
Income, money. What else?
Structure.
Pardon?
Structure.
Structure, right on.
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem, right on. Okay, so basically, yes. Security. What about community? Anybody have friends at work?
Yeah. No.
40 hours a week. 40 hours a week. It's a lot of hours. All right, this is research. And gentleman said it correctly, it's about your self-esteem. It's a big part of work. What's the first question when you go to a party? What do you get asked?
Where you are.
Where do you work? What do you do? Are you kidding me? Oh, I don't ask that anymore. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, that's the first question. Other countries ask other questions like how much did your condo cost? We ask what are you doing? Anyway, basically research, there's so much research. Look at all the beautiful, beautiful impact items for employment. Okay, having said that, based on my research, there are, did I just do this? One sec. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so this, I'm not gonna scare you today, okay? It's 1 month away from Halloween or whatever. I'm not gonna scare you. But I'm not gonna do the pity pot, oh, poor people, oh my God. No, but it's brutal, okay? This is all I want you to look at. Within people with disabilities in general, really, really bad stats with employment, like underserved, underrepresented, okay. But look at the people with developmental disabilities. That's who we help at RENA. It's really, really not great. But there's hope. Do not despair, because there's pros and cons. So on one hand, when I'm speaking to employers and I'm going out into the community and I speak to a ton of employers, it's called job development. I'm always connecting with employers and looking for work and job opportunities for our individuals at RENA, and I collaborate with other community agencies who do supported employment. So the labor market is tons of change. You have to learn new software every 5 seconds, okay? Lifelong learning, very much valued. Look, I'm sure a lot of you are in learning organizations where you're constantly having to get certifications. If you don't have your MSW, you only have your SSW, but you want to get your MSW. It's very big on lifelong learning and creative problem. Look at these soft skills, oh my God. And then top it all off, you got minimum wage increase, 14 bucks an hour. And again, employers asking in their job descriptions and on the workforce for quite a wish list, which they never get, but whatever. So it's could be very, very intimidating for our individuals, but there is good news. I have good news. I've been doing this since 2005. And let me tell you, 2005, most people, employers, they shut the door in my face. They wouldn't even look at me. And now today, much better, because you've got ODIN. I don't know if you know what ODIN is, Ontario Disability Employment Network. You've got other groups. You've got a lot of employers now have people in a RENA home or have an individual in their home with developmental disabilities or somebody in the family. So I think it looks a little bit better. So, based on ODIN statistics as well as Burson, most organizations who have a lot of money, like the big financial companies and the telecom companies, who are mandated to hire a certain percentage of participants with disabilities, they're going to give you the thing. They're going to give you the presentation in PDF so you don't copy over it. Anyway, most companies have some kind of diversity. Big companies have a diversity inclusion person who's paid to recruit and hire people with disabilities. Are you familiar with the corporate social responsibility, diversity? Did you know that there's staff in organizations specifically hired to do this? Okay, so you've got that, very nice. Some of them actually do it and some of them are still learning. Okay, 78% of Canadians are more likely to buy a product or a service from a company that hires people with disabilities. Did you know that? Okay. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's a statistic that I found. And everybody know what social enterprise is? Businesses that hire marginalized community, in our case, it's a business that hires our individuals with developmental disabilities. So it's a sort of a supported environment, sort of not, it's complicated, but it's starting to become really, really big. You've got Goodfoot, the courier company, A-Wait, the courier company, you've got Raging Bull down at Camp H, you've got Hawthorne Cafe, you've got Danny Toronto with the catering. There's lots of different, and we're getting into it as well. Here's the challenge. I told you about the labor market. So our mandate, so there's pros and cons. Our mandate is to increase competitive employment and training opportunities for our individuals with developmental disabilities. It should be in the competitive labor market. That's what we're trying to do with supported employment. That's the goal. That's why we get together. That's why we meet. That's why we help each other. How are we going to support our job seekers who are like that snow person to get into the competitive labor market, find meaningful employment, and keep it? How do we do that as a frontline job developer? So, employment in the DSO, Developmental Services, I come from MTCU funded and Immigration Canada funded programs. Employment is really the idea that an individual with developmental disability, a high school student, and a youth and a young adult and an adult can work is really, really new. I don't think it's 10 years old yet. I mean, it's really, really, compared to employment in Ontario, it's really, really new. So it's still in the baby stages. So Rena responded with this need to start delving into helping people with employment. So how do we do it? So I'm not going to explain who Rena is. I have lots of, you can look on you can Google if you have Wi-Fi here, you can Google it. I got some pens there. So help yourself to pens. There's literature. There's everything you wanted to know what we give to employers. So here's how we responded. By the way, Rena's really big on housing, really made some really serious impact on changes on housing. So employment, we're going to do the same thing. So, here, what's going on? One sec. What happened? Uh-oh. It's not moving. Maybe I'll move down here. Sorry. No, okay, so it's stuck. Plan B. So, here's what we do at Rena. Why isn't it moving? Honey,
We have somebody here.
it moved. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so Rena responded. We have 4 different models of offering supported employment services. We've got a youth supported employment program. We've got a summer employment program for the high school kids in York Region District School Board and the York Catholic, replicating the model of Community Living Sarnia with Bob Van Sickle. We have a holistic integrated community day program / with employment supports uptown, up in York Region and downtown. And then we have another one called Pathways, which is more of a transition program. So people who want to work, but they still need way more experience and supports, that's called Pathways. We got one up there, York Region, and we got one down there, downtown. What is supported employment? First, let's learn what it is. Okay, so you know about institutionalization. Do I need to explain this to you? Do you know about the history, institutionalization? They closed down, everybody was thrown back into the community. Rena, community living, Christian Horizons, the parents bought a house for their kids, and the rest is history. Okay, so that's kind of, so based on this, so it moved from the medical model, even though it's not really happening, but whatever, slowly into the social model, that everybody has a right to work, everybody has a right to be part of the community, and in community inclusion. So basically, supported employment, that whole model is an offshoot of this. So basically, this is your typical supported employment program. When you get an individual who's looking for work, I don't care how old they are, when you are out, when you know of these organizations that are, or programs that are doing supported employment, you need, this is the only slide you see, you need to ask questions. You need to say, what kind of employment, pre-employment training? Are they sitting in a classroom for 10 years and then that's what they're learning, pre-employment, soft skills? What are they learning? What's your career? You can ask this, you can ask all of this. And then you can also learn about what the services out there. What kind of career exploration is there? Do you have career exploration? I'm not talking about personality assessments and tools. I'm talking about, is someone gonna sit with me and figure out what I love, what I hate, what I wanna do, what I don't, and take me, maybe I wanna work, my dream job is Home Depot, working in the stock room, in the tool area of Home Depot, then you go and you do an information interview. You wanna find out if there's other, just like what Dr. Y said, what are the other, 5 minutes left? No. I started at 10:15.
Did you?
Yeah, no, I started at 10:20.
Okay.
Okay. This is the only slide. You need to ask if the person needs some help with the family, with the community, what else? Don't just look at the employment, look at the whole thing, just like he said. I'm not gonna repeat what Jonathan Y said. Tell me about your job developer. Do you have any employers? What kind of employers do you have? Do you have retail? Do you have Sobeys? Do you have Longos? Who? How? Do you have somebody going out and bringing in the employers? Ask this question. Then you want to find out when our individuals are going on job interviews. Are you going with the individual, or are you just throwing them out to the lion's den? Are you offering job coaching, on-site job coaching, on the job? It's the only way it's gonna work. I promise you, since 2005, the only way it's gonna work is if there's on-the-job job coaching. Not job coaching meeting in the Starbucks, although that's very important too. And of course, it's case by case. Each person is different. Maybe an individual candidate doesn't want you to go with them on the interview, like the snow person. Maybe they want to go alone. They can, absolutely. But you need to find out what kind of job coaching supports are there. Very, very important. Most of the people that we work with at our place, they have the job coaching. I have a job coach. Now my job coach, if I didn't have a job coach and I have disabilities, even if you don't have disabilities, everybody here needs a job coach. Maybe it's not helping me at the job, but everybody today, the workforce is just so complicated, it's crazy out there. Then you want to find out who the employers are, what kind of job opportunities do you have, and is there a possibility, how is it going to work? Because every single supported employment program has different targets to meet. If you're under certain, like Trillium funded or NTC, Ministry of Training, College, Universities funded, or economic development, you've got targets. So a lot of times, intake, depending on the program and depending on the business model, not at RENA, but let's say you want to refer somebody to a government funded employment program, you have to find out, are they only taking the cream of the crop? Who are they taking or not? And if they will not take your individual, what other ideas do you have? And there's lots of great stuff out there. And then you want to find out on the job pay placement. This is a typical standard model of an employment program. You need to ask the questions before you refer your person. This is basically values, best practices, from my opinion. Everybody has a right to get help with employment. Whether or not it's going to work is another story. It's not up to me to determine whether this person should work or not. If a person wants to work, then maybe you need to do some exploration and some meetings, an employment action plan, and then you try and help work with the person. Don't do it for them, because guess who's going to be needing to do, eventually they're going to have to work and you're not going to be there. So you need to encourage, empower, and do it as a partnership. Just like communities partners, you do partnership with the individual to help them get the job and keep the job. So anybody heard of Denise Bissonnette? She is the leader in supported employment for people with disabilities. She's amazing. If we have time, I'll show you her little clip because it's short on time, right?
No.
How much time do I have?
Well, if you start at 10:20, you have until 10:50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, so if ever you want to train your people or you want to learn, she's not free, but she comes and I've done 3 trainings with her. There's almost no training for supported employment for job developers and job coaches. It's very experiential learning, informal learning. I learned because I was mentored by a leader in the field. So, but she is amazing. Odin's training, not bad either. So let's see if we have time for this. Whoop-ah. Sorry. Oh my God. I don't know how to get in this. Oh, there she is. Okay, sorry. Let's see. Let's see what she does. I like this. This is quick. Let's see what she says. No. Okay.
For
No,
those who are involved in the important work of helping a person see beyond.
This is what I want. That one's too long. That's also beautiful. Can you hear this?
Oh my gosh, I have been so blessed by working with people with disabilities. I feel like
Okay, this is not working. Sorry, I don't know how. It's crazy. Very sensitive machine.
oh my gosh, I have been so blessed by working with people with disabilities. I feel different about myself, my family, my friends, and the world by having had my outlook completely changed by being friends with and colleagues with people with disabilities, because I was raised with that idea that what's important to know about a person with a disability is their disability. And what I've learned is that it becomes so inconsequential so quickly once they become a friend, once they become a colleague, once they are your boss.
Okay. Now. Sorry, a minute. Here we are. Okay, we did that. Okay. Now. Oh my God, this machine. Slideshow. Current slide. Okay, well, current slide. So, the way that I work with the people, with the individuals, is, number 1 is, in the supported employment as a job developer and a job coach, where I'm the one going out into the employer, I'm working with the individual because I want to do a deep dive, understand who am I dealing with. I don't use forms other than employment action plan. Has anybody heard of the strength-based model of counseling? There's a lot of different words for it. Basically, make a long story short, you discover what the person can do and enjoys doing, what their interests are, and that's how you assess the person. If you can get a file from the caseworker, great. If not, from the social worker, great. If not, you can sit with the individual and the family or the parent, whoever wants to come along, and you can identify what kind of supports the person needs, where they're at. Is employment the right intervention at this time, or maybe we can work together with other interventions? Job search readiness workshops, a lot of those workshops are used by the job developers and the facilitators to find out where the person's at in terms of learning new material and their soft skills. How they show up on time, how do they work with the other individuals in the room, career exploration. You confirm a good job goal and you prepare and implement an employment action plan and you refer the person as required. So this is a strength-based approach based on the George Brown College career counseling. You want to learn about the individual's accommodations, which means Before you start going to the employer and asking the employer, I want you to accommodate the end. Know first what they need to be successful on the job. It could be lighting, it could be a chair, it could be JAWS, it could be software, it could be they can't start till 12 o'clock. So if they can't start a job till 12 o'clock because of their meds or whatever, then you don't help them apply for a job as a receptionist that needs to be there at 9 o'clock. Not gonna work. So you also have to know your labor market and know, so you wanna discuss with the person or help the person learn what do they need to be successful on the job, how they can be most productive, and use today's technology. So there's a lot of apps, etc. If they have an issue with transportation, I just learned that Community Living has, I forget where, has this fantastic transportation training program. So that's basically, in short, this is what I think you need to do to get the person ready and see where they're at. Then I do job development, which means that I put on a recruitment, sales, marketing, business hat, social service hat out the door, but I'm not motivated to be a recruiter, otherwise I would work at Robert Half, but I'm not motivated like that. I wanna help the person. But for me to best serve the individual, I need to be a business person, sales. I am a sales person. I know what I present benefits, not the features to the employer. I use a sales model to help that employer with their business. I do job fairs. I help employer with incentives if they want, if they need. If I think it's gonna help get that person in that job, oh yeah, I'll use it. I'll partner with other employment centers, other job developers. I do job matching. I create job postings for employers. I help employers if they need help to get more, find a different kind of service. I do connections with employers. I do a lot about a value added service. And at the same time, I learn about the business. I learn about the business model. What is this employer looking for? What do they really need? Not what's in writing or the theory. Where do they hurt? Where are their gaps? Where do they need help? Because then if I know my candidate, I can make a nice match, because if my candidate can help that doctor's office with their filing, because the doctor's office needs to turn all their files, scan them, and put them online because they're going paperless, which a lot of them are doing, hey, I got a perfect person for you. So these are just some of the techniques that I use with job development. This is my thing. This is what I do. This is my area. Then I like to choose the right employer. I like to choose champions, employers who are okay with this, who are okay with on-the-job job coaching, on-site job coaching. There's a whole thing, Canada's best employers, Canada's top 100 diversity employers. And at the end of the day, just like how you got your jobs, how I got my job, one of the areas is not what I can't do, but what I'm gonna do to help that employer. My individuals and my case candidates in our programs, I'm not talking about what they can't do. I don't talk about the disability, it's irrelevant. I talk about what they can do. And I don't talk about, oh, they got this disability, it's illegal. But it's non-issue. Once I have a deep dive about that employer's model and what they need help with, I can help them. Who cares about the disability? But it's up to me and my candidate to know what the accommodations are, so there's no failure here. There can't be failure because you've done your prep work. Although it doesn't always work out, but that just don't assume employers know. Okay, this is our employment programs, job coaching. Our job coaches, pretty well, not all the programs, depending on the model. Our fee-for-service one, our fee-for-service downtown, our day community employment programs, they have the job coaching. Our other trillion funded and summer employment programs for the youth, 24/7 job coaching, and I'm serious. I'm exaggerating, but there are evenings, weekends, because our individuals like to work in food services, like to work with animals, and like to work with retail and like to work general labor, and sometimes there's weekend work. And sometimes our job coaches need to work. So that's just the way it is, and the job coaches also, we all, as frontline supported employment staff, we have two clients. We have the employer and we have the individual. These are some of the tools of my trade, of our trade, volunteering, amazing. I got started through volunteering, it's big. Working interviews. I have an individual doing a working interview at a restaurant at Bathurst and Eglinton yesterday. I'm praying that she gets hired. Internships, not sure. Employment action plan. Co-ops is it's only legal if you're part of a university or a school. Job shadowing. These are some of the techniques that I use and try and get that person in. Okay, so these are other, by the way, this is always outdated, but it's a nice idea, the knock, you know about the knock? It's okay, but take it with a grain of salt. This is my baby. On it every single day. I get jobs sent into my inbox, I look for profiles, I do my research on employers. When I want a cold call, or I want to network, or want to connect, major research tool. And also to get a pulse on the labor market. So I talked a little bit about our 5 different employment models. I said 4, but we also have SILs, living in housing, and different kinds of models all over the city. Some are working, some come into our day program, some go into other employment programs. Some of the direct support professional workers actually help the individual with employment on the job. So before I wrap up, that's Rena in action. I'm going to show that. Okay, huge. And Jonathan Weiss, Dr. Weiss said it. I do not do this alone. I work with many other job developers and job coaches and coordinators in the GTA. I have a supported employment network, strategic employment committee, where we have representation from many different service providers. We sit, I have meetings, I bring in, who did I invite to come and speak? Anyway, whatever. So learn, we want to learn what's out there, who's doing what. I want to be able to know. I want to be in the know. What's in employment, career, community, so that I can make good referrals, I can make good matches. We help each other, I help them, we help each other. I share employers, they share employers with me. We share candidates, if we can. We're lots of very agile, IT agile, very flexible. Whatever's gonna work best for the people. And it's proof in the research. I know that you know this already, but this is the only way it's gonna happen. Working with the community partners, working with the families, working with the individuals, working with the teachers, the social workers. In our next couple of minutes, if you could look back at this. Any different opinions, changed opinions, or your opinion stays the same? If this candidate was going through supported employment program, I lined up a job interview. How would I handle this as a job coach, job developer?
You wouldn't be offering all those hot climate.
Exactly. Say it again, yeah.
You wouldn't be offering hot climate jobs.
Yes, wouldn't be offering hot climate jobs, absolutely. Any other comments? First of all, I would never let that individual go alone on the interview. Second of all, I would have met that employer before to find out what's going on, because this is gonna be really complicated. And I would have job carved. I would have spoken to that employer, learned about their business. What do they need help with? Now, if she needs help with all that, I might go with that person, but I prepared that person in advance. Or maybe I would have told that interviewer in advance how this candidate can help her with her business. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I would not do a normal, regular, typical situational behavioral interview. Tell me about a time or tell me about yourself, or what are your strengths, or what are your weaknesses. I don't go there. It's first of all, those questions, like seriously, you're asking me about my weakness? You tell me about your weakness, and then I'll tell you, what is this with the hierarchy, you know, you're like, oh, you're HR, oh, you're gonna make a decision on my life? No! No way, man. Not good. Big, huge barriers in the recruitment process. One day, it'll change when there's a need. By the way, if you help an employer find a candidate where there's a shortage, so let's say there's a shortage of Python or Adobe Suites, or there's some shortages, probably they wouldn't even care what the person could do or not, as long as they got the Python or the Java development or the whatever they've got with the shortage, or the SAP. It's usually about software skills, I notice, or they're coders or they're developers. Then all of a sudden, it's out the window. But when you have 600 applications for one job at RBC or for social worker jobs, then the employers can be more, oh, right now we have an opening. I would never ever even get to this situation. Not gonna happen. It's because it's a disaster waiting to happen. I don't wanna set our people up for failure. So, any questions? Any questions? When in doubt, check it out, my card's over there. If you have anybody looking for work and you don't know what to do or where to go in Toronto, York region, you can reach out to me. If I don't know, believe me, I will find out for you. Because I learn, I'm learning. The more I know about what's out there, the better we can help our people, and the more we work together and not compete with each other, but share whatever. Forget about the targets. Doesn't matter, by the way, oh, listen to this. Did you know that very soon, I think it's gonna, unless there's a change in government, I'm not sure. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's Jeremy. Did you know that Employment Ontario, under Ministry Training College University, did you know that Ontario Works employment supports and ODSP employment supports are going to be merging under that model? Did you know that? At the last Odin conference, the ministries, the Ministry of Community Social Services, and I forget the new name, and MTCU, they were piloting this out in Northern Ontario, and apparently they are bringing it to the GTA. The whole model is changing. So whether or not you meet your targets, or you do 70% under the EO, you have to, the one I used to be at, you have to see 1,000 people in that government, have to be registered, and you have to have 75% placement in jobs. It doesn't happen because typically the people that are dropping in are people with barriers that need help. Anyway, so that's gonna be really interesting for our sector, very interesting, because there's gonna be now a big push for job coaching. Are we ready? Do we have the skills? Do we have the training to actually do job development and job coaching? Interesting times, never a dull moment. Anyway.
Can we open up the floor for some
Yes,
questions?
questions.
We're actually running a little bit late for the next session, but any questions?
Yes,
I know there were talks about certifying job coaches. Do you know if there's any?
certifying job coaches?
Yeah.
No, there was this talk about it. The George Brown College has that career counseling thing. They were talking about it. They're trying to get it under the career practitioner, but I haven't heard about it. But maybe one day. Yeah, it's a non-regulated profession. It's totally, it's like if you breathe, you could do it. That's the hiring process. By the way, big shortage of job developers. Everybody likes to do the pre-employment and the soft skills and city. I like to do it too. And people like the job coaching, sort of. Some people do, some people don't. The biggest shortage is job developers in this social service community sector. Just letting you know. The salaries are whatever. I know the salaries. If you want to know later, I'll give you the salaries and where to go, where not to go, who makes the most money, who doesn't. But it's not all about the money. Otherwise, I'd be at Robert Half. Good question. Anything else? Do you think you can do better referrals now if somebody comes to you with employment? You have a better idea of the model? Questions to ask? What to expect? Expect the unexpected? Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sincerely appreciate your